ballot papers. For many years, Zambians have understood the simple instruction that when you enter the polling station booth, you identify the candidate of your choice and place an X in the appropriate box. The Electoral Commission's own voter education material continues to tell citizens that the correct way of marking the ballot paper is by placing an X in the square corresponding to the candidate of their choice. We are therefore concerned by the introduction at this late stage of messages suggesting that voters should now use a tick or some other mark. The question is, why introduce uncertainty only days before an election? An election is not the time to experiment with voter instructions. We are therefore asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to maintain a clear, uniform and familiar message to the people of Zambia. Mark an X clearly in the box of the candidate of your choice. Countrymen and women, you may wish to know that even the regulations that govern the voting process, and in particular Regulation 33D, underscores what to amount to a valid voting mark, and this mark is an X. We are therefore very surprised that ECZ is coming up with other marks that may not be necessarily provided for under the regulations. In clear terms, it prescribes that voting shall be done via crossing. This is the valid mark. Anything departing from this, as per statute, is practice, and practice is an invalid or a spoiled vote. That is the law. That is what the statute provides. So like I said earlier, the last minute changes, as announced by ECZ Chief Electoral Officer, points to arbitrariness in the administration of elections. So neither the Electoral Commission of Zambia Act nor the Electoral General Regulations of 2016 contemplate any sort of administrative arbitrariness. So no voter should arrive at the polling station wondering whether they should use a tick, an X, a line, or some other symbol. The rules of voting must be simple, consistent, and understood by every Zambian. For the first time, voter in Lusaka, to the grandmother casting her vote in the most remote village, the Commission must immediately remove any contradiction in its voter education messages. Countrymen and women, this is very, very important, especially that we live in an environment where there's a lot of stories flying around. Stories of loose ballot boxes, marked ballot papers. So when people begin to introduce strange marks away from what the statute provides, you begin to wonder. Others have asked questions. Could it be that the said marked ballots were marked with the wrong mark, in this case a tick, and the people behind it later realized that was a mistake, and they are now trying to rectify that by what we are calling administrative arbitrariness, introducing new marks to qualify what would ordinarily be an invalid ballot. So to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, we want to call upon them to stick to what is provided for, to stick to what they've been teaching. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has been doing voter education for a very long time. The past 24 months plus. How then can they show up at the very last minute and introduce new marks? So we call upon the Electoral Commission of Zambia to immediately withdraw the use of the mark and stick to the cross as the case has been. The second point relates to the results of this election, which ECZ is suggesting to announce only days after. Our position is that the results of this election must be announced without unnecessary delay. We have taken note of the electoral timetable indicating that publication of election results is expected to commence on the 17th of August. several days after Zambians vote on 13th of August. We believe Zambia can do better. Votes are counted at polling stations immediately after the close of polling. Results are recorded at polling station level. Political party agents, monitors, and observers are present during the counting process. We are living in 2026. These are modern times. We have mobile telecommunications, digital transmission systems, internet connectivity, and technologies that allow information to move from one side of Zambia to another within seconds. Therefore, there is no convincing reason why the people of Zambia should be kept waiting for several days before knowing the outcome of an election whose votes are counted at polling stations. Prolonged delays create anxiety. Delays create suspicion. Delays create opportunities for misinformation. And unnecessary delays can undermine public confidence in an otherwise credible process. We therefore call upon the Electoral Commission of Zambia to put in place mechanisms that allow presidential results to be collated, verified, and announced as quickly as reasonably possible. We believe that with proper organization and technology, Zambia should be capable of substantially completing this process within 24 hours of the close of polling. Transparency must be immediate. Every polling station result must be protected. Every political party agent must receive the official result at the polling station. And the national tally must reflect nothing more, nothing less than the votes cast by Zambian people. Countrymen and women, the third point is on the arrests of our people. Arrests, detentions, and intimidations of political actors, media personnel, content creators, and security personnel, which must come to an end. In the closing stages of this campaign, we have witnessed a disturbing pattern of arrests and detentions involving individuals associated with political activity, media work, and public commentary. We have seen arrests involving Chester Mopower, Felix IDC, just this morning, Ambassador Martha Lungu and Hannah Israel. We have Dixon Tembo, we have Tolopa, and many other people, including the 32 security personnel that were arrested in Mongo. We have seen opposition-aligned media personnel and content creators targeted. We have seen members of the campaign security team detained. We have seen journalists and bloggers arrested or questioned for carrying out work that, in any functioning democracy, should be protected by freedoms of expression, association, and the press. These developments cannot be overlooked in isolation. They are happening only days before an election. They are happening at a time when opposition political parties must be free to communicate with voters. They are happening after our campaign has faced repeated obstruction and violence. In Luampa district in Western Province, our convoy was confronted during an incident involving suspected UPND cadres. Our campaign has also faced police intervention in Western Province, including the dispersal of a rally in Mongo using tear gas. The same happened in Solwezi, the same happened in Mwinyilunga, the same happened in Chingola, Ndola, Kitwe. These are not conditions that inspire confidence in a peaceful and level electoral environment. I therefore appeal directly to Zambia Police Service. You are not the police service of a political party. You are police service of the Republic of Zambia. Every officer wears that uniform on behalf of the Zambian people, including citizens who support the government, citizens who support opposition, and citizens who support no political party at all. Exercise your powers professionally. Do not allow the police service to become an instrument of intimidating political opponents in the final days of this election. Where an offense has generally been committed, the law must take its course. But arrests must never become a political weapon. Detention must never become punishment before trial. And law enforcement must never be selective. So countrymen and women, this is very important, because what we have witnessed is an abduction style of arresting our people. Our security officers who were returning from their training were abducted at the airport. To date, we do not know where our 4 officers are. Just this morning, Madam Ambassador Martha Lungu and one of the media personnel, Hannah, were abducted this morning. Up to this point, we do not know where they're being held. The other people in Mongo, like Chest and IDC, were equally abducted in Western Province, together with 30 others. It's not very clear the reasons for which they were abducted. They want to call it an arrest, we're calling it an abduction. We do not know the reasons for which they were picked up, abducted. In today's case, we're told the abductors were actually firing gunshots. They were driving unregistered motor vehicles, trailing Ambassador Martha Lungu and firing shots behind her until she hit into a pole nearby. That's when they zeroed in. So that is not right. We expect the police to operate professionally. We have repeatedly mentioned to the Zambian people that the police service needs to be professionalized. The police service needs to be depoliticized. What we experience leaves much to be desired. I come to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Your responsibility over the next few days is historic. Keep the voting instructions clear. Protect every ballot. Protect every polling station result. Ensure that the party agents have access to the electoral process. Transmit results transparently. And announce the will of the Zambian people without unnecessary delays. And to the Zambia Police Service, protect every Zambian citizen regardless of political affiliation. Protect every candidate. Protect every journalist. Protect every election agent. And ensure that the remaining campaign period and election day are peaceful. To our supporters across the country, remain peaceful. Do not respond to provocation. Do not engage in violence. On August 13, go and vote peacefully. Mark your ballot clearly with an X in the box of your chosen candidate. Remain vigilant. Protect your vote through lawful means. Respect election officials, monitors, and observers, and allow the voice of the Zambian people to speak. This election belongs neither to the government nor to the opposition. It belongs to the people of Zambia. Institutions come and go. Governments come and go. Political leaders come and go. But the Republic remains. On August 13, let us demonstrate once again that Zambia is bigger than any political party and that the sovereign will of the Zambian people must always prevail. May God bless the people of Zambia. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Fellow Zambians, countrymen and women, we are only days away from one of the most important democratic exercises in the life of our republic. On Thursday, 13th August 2026, millions of Zambians will go to polling stations across our country to choose their leaders. At this critical hour, nothing must be allowed to introduce confusion, uncertainty, or fear.
Sunday, the 2nd. Sorry, I was just adjusting. I noticed I don't have a camera with me. Sunday, August 9th, 2026. Today, we'll host a dear brother of mine, a father in the spirit, and Dr. And Bishop Paul Wupe from Ndola, from the Copper Belt. Is very well known for his various works. Just the other day, he and other elders of the nation issued a fundamental statement calling for peace, calling for unity of our country. And let me look for that statement that we can quickly begin. The elders, including professors, former service chiefs, academics, issued a very fundamental statement calling for peace, speaking against violence, and calling on both the leaders and our countrymen to be peaceful during this period. Just listen to this before I introduce my guest.
Statement on pre-election violence in Zambia, issued on the 5th August 2026. As Zambia prepares for general elections on 13th August, we affirm our strong commitment to peace, democracy, and the rule of law. Over the years, Zambia has held numerous general elections that have demonstrated the resilience of our democratic traditions. Although isolated incidents of electoral violence have occurred in previous electoral cycles, such acts have consistently been condemned by citizens and leaders alike. With decisive measures taken to restore calm, it is this collective commitment to peace that has earned Zambia its long-standing reputation as a beacon of stability and democratic coexistence in the region. It is therefore with deep concern that we have witnessed a disturbing escalation in violence associated with the current pre-election period. Reports of violent incidents in the western, northwestern, southern, and Lusaka province, some of which have tragically resulted in the loss of life, are deeply regrettable and unacceptable. We unequivocally and unreservedly condemn all forms of political violence, regardless of the individuals or groups responsible. No Zambian should suffer intimidation, injury, or death for exercising their constitutional rights, including the freedom to associate with and support a political party or candidate of their choice. Human life is sacred and must be protected at all times. As citizens who cherish Zambia's proud history of peaceful political transitions, we are mindful of the devastating consequences that violence has brought to many countries across Africa and beyond. We must not allow our nation to follow a similar path. Differences in political opinion should be resolved through dialogue, tolerance, and the democratic process, not through intimidation or violence. The forthcoming general elections provide every eligible Zambian with an opportunity to freely and peacefully choose leaders whom they believe will advance national unity, inclusive development, economic prosperity, and renewed hope for our country. This democratic exercise must be conducted in an environment that guarantees the safety, dignity, and the participation of all citizens. We therefore call upon all political parties and their supporters to exercise maximum restraint, reject violence in all its forms, and conduct their campaigns peacefully and responsibly. State institutions and law enforcement agencies to enforce the law impartially, protect every citizen without fear or favor, and ensure that perpetrators of violence are held accountable. The Electoral Commission of Zambia and all stakeholders to continue promoting a credible and peaceful and transparent electoral process. All Zambians to remain calm, respect differing political views, and uphold the value of peace, unity, national cohesion that have defined our nation for decades. As concerned patriotic and loyal citizens, we look forward to peaceful, free, and fair elections that reflect the will of the Zambian people and preserve our country's democratic legacy. Signed by 1. Lieutenant General Paul Mihova, retired. Professor Luke Mumba. Lieutenant Colonel, retired. Professor Nelson Ngoma. Brigadier General Chapula, retired. Bishop Dr. Paul Wupe, Father Chivubi, Professor Clive Chirwa, Brebna Changala, and Owen Mugemuzulu. God bless Zambia. Thank you.
That is a statement that preceded proceeded after the violence that we witnessed, especially early this week and last week. Let me just deal with the small, no, they are not small, they're very, very big issues, but in-house issues that are happening in the country before I bring in Dr. Bishop Paul Wupe. We woke up to the very sad news today of an unnecessary killing, of a patriot, a family that has been in our country, since the 40s. And Chaminuka Luxury Lodge, the owner, has been, his life has been taken. Stelios Shula Sadanis, who was 64, who was a chief executive officer and co-owner of the prominent Chaminuka Luxury Lodge and Game Reserve in Chisamba, was killed. Over 15 people, thugs or whoever they are, stormed his residence, tied him up and knifed him several times. The police in Central Province, Lemekani Chirwa, who's the commanding officer, and the police spokesperson, Evo, confirmed the sad killing of Stelios Sadanis. There are a lot of things flying around, and we call upon the police to investigate this murder. This is no ordinary family. They've been part of our country. They are Zambians. They've large investment in this country since the 40s. And for one of the family members to be killed in this dastard manner, is totally unacceptable. This morning, again, we woke up to the sad news that the matter that Brian Munduvile and Makebi Zulu have just spoken about, where Ambassador, my dear sister, Ambassador Martha Lungu Mwitumwa, she served as Zambia's ambassador, extraordinary and plenipotentiary to the Swiss Confederation, and she was our permanent representative at our UN office in Geneva. She was a representative there. She's part of the Brian Mundubile's campaign team, and she usually manages the campaign logistics and strategy while they are in the field. This morning, they pursued her from her home. She had picked one of our bloggers, Anna Katontoka, and they were pursued, including gunfire. They were going to the office, to the media center, and in panic, Ambassador Martha Mwitumwa even hit the tree, and they were dragged from the tree and they were taken to an unknown place. I think the lawyers are looking at that. This evening, images have emerged, and I'll be playing them, of Lusaka businessman Valden Finlay, who was picked from Chisamba last week. He was being moved from Twin Palm Ibex police station to an unknown place. Then we noticed that they were now together with Kenneth Kamba, who's our Deputy Secretary General in charge of vote protection, and they were being moved to an unknown place. These are events that characterize today the sad news and the sad killing of our businessman, prominent businessman. And Chaminuka is known worldwide. I meet people here. When you talk, they said, we've been at your game park in Lusaka. And they mean usually not a new facility, but they mean Chaminuka, because the game reserve has a wide range of wildlife, just a few kilometers from Lusaka and from Lusaka International Airport. So that death has shaken, especially the business community in our country. Let me bring my dear brother, my father in the faith, Dr. Paul Wupe, who's going to speak to many issues. Bishop, welcome, and welcome to today's program. Hello, Bishop.
My dear brother. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hope the network will hold. It's breaking so far.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm thankful very much for inviting me to a time like this one, when things are happening in a manner we have never witnessed before, and to speak to the nation on issues that are happening in our country. So I'm eternally grateful. And it's indeed saddening to see and to hear what is happening in our beloved Zambia.
Bishop, we saw a very powerful statement. It's rare that elders like the ones you just mentioned would gather together, think about the country, rise above partisan interests, and demand that peace prevail, that peace be stilled. These elections must be held, in accordance with our constitution. They are not the first, elections in our country. We've had various elections, and the unprecedented events happening towards these elections, I think, concerned the elders. Just walk us through your coming together and what led to that statement, and let's begin to speak to the ingredients of the statement.
Actually, it was a call by one of us who picked up a phone and introduced the subject. And we all bought into the idea that truly any country that is, assisted by elders, of course, people who think through issues and they've experienced in life, they would like to share with the rest of the nation their thoughts and their feelings about given situations. So we had to talk about violence and also other issues in the nation. We also look at the way we have come, how far have we come, and where are we? So with that in mind, we issued a statement, which you have just played. And that's our message even right now. Even as I speak now, I'm speaking to the same situation, peace. if we look at our history, from whence we have as a people, as Zambians, in our cultural setup before all these types of room, you find that they used to be, and they still are, in the villages. Those people, they sit back and look at issues, and the chief or the king or whoever it is on the throne, these people, they are supportive. They are wise people who speak to situations, and they give the opportunity to the leader to finally decide. So they don't impose, they advise, you know, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're not standing for a particular political party. We are patriots, people who love our country and would like to see things happen the way according to our identity. As a people, we have our own identity as Zambians. It's interesting that sometimes we forget who we are. We tend to forget who we really are, and we start becoming what we don't even know, you know, what we have not been. What is happening now is very, very strange. I'm trying to sometimes pinch myself to see whether I'm still awake or I'm dreaming. You know, what is going on is unacceptable, and it's not part of us. It must be blamed by everybody. And now listen, everybody, I say this. The way nations are, it is a household. It's just a big household. And we do have leaders on top. In my own household, I've raised up, how many children? 4 children. I've raised them up in my own house. And I know what I want to see done. If one of the children gets out of the way, I put my foot down. If something goes wrong, immediately I act on that. And that is expected of every leader in every situation, that if you are elected or put in office as a leader, you are the father. For example, our president, His Excellency, HH, is a father of the nation. That's why we get troubled if we see people insulting a top leader of a nation. We become troubled if we see young people shamelessly insulting fathers and mothers openly. You know, these people hold the life of a nation. The responsibility of taking of the nation is in the hands of a leader, a president. He has a big responsibility. He cannot gamble on that at all. He cannot. If something is not right in any corner of the nation, I, as a parent, I up and I put my foot down and show the way that this is the way I want things to be done. There shouldn't be a time when there is silence on the part of a leader when things are happening like this. You have to speak out. What we are doing right now is out. As head of the nation, we would like people to know that we have parents. Usually I say, not on my clock. As long as I'm still alive, I'll speak out and speak the truth and nothing else. Why? Because tomorrow they will say, there once was, there once were a people that spoke. They said, this is the way, walk in it. If by any reason we choose not to listen, the responsibility is on us, not anybody else. So what is going on now in our country is unacceptable. It is not our way of life. We value life as Zambians.
Yeah. We
value life as Zambians.
Let us start just with that. The country is holding presidential, parliamentary, and local government elections. And there are deep concerns that these elections will not be free and fair for the various reasons. Number one, the quick legacy issues, you know, the enactment of Bill 7 into law in an unpopular and probably unlawful manner. The status of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, where the composition of the board and management are doubted whether they can deliver free and fair elections. Then there are issues that have stifled society, such as the cyber laws, seditious laws, and recently the main contender, Brian Mundubile, had his entire campaign team literally stripped away from him. They arrested, now we know the number, 32 members of his security team, his 2 bloggers, his artists, 3 of them, and others were detained and remain detained in Mongu, and now we understand they've been moved to prison. Then today, 2 of his key officials, because they were preparing to go to church as a leadership, Makebi Zulu and Brian Mundubile, had the church service. And Ambassador Martha Lungu and Hannah, the blogger who carries live coverage, were picked up, pursued like criminals by the police, and picked up. And you have a key person in the Secretariat in charge of vote protection, Kenneth Kamba, that has also been picked up. In fact, one of the reasons the team has not gone to Southern Province is their credible intelligence information that I think if he arrived in Livingstone, we understand he was going to be stripped of all whoever he was with and just leave them bare. On one hand. On the other hand, the president was on the Copperbelt in your home area, and members of the church, leaders of the clergy, gathered to bless him and to encourage him and pray for him. And he pledged that the country is going to host free and fair elections. But that's not what we are seeing. Let's begin to speak to parts of your statement which has concerned you. Let's speak to the issues which you are saying the country is not at ease, the country is not at rest. Begin to speak to the issues that concerned you and your fellow elders.
Well, if what I've heard is what it is regrettable. There is no need to be pursuing people, capture them and take them somewhere and lock them up at it like this. I think wisdom can help us here, because you pursue people, you capture them, you take them, all of them, even the security of this opponent, the candidate. What are you saying? What are you saying? In short, I feel that I think something is not right. Is how people are panic-stricken. The reason for such panic is best. I think these are things that should not be happening, especially that elections around the, and you take away all, you put them behind bars. And next, so what are you saying? Okay, we don't want this man to make it to campaign and to win the election, predetermining the outcome of an election through your activities that are suspicious. So whatever good reason you have, I think it calls even for wisdom on the part of leadership. Why should you be doing things like this, one after the other, disadvantaging the opponents in the race? We saw what happened in Congo. We saw how the violence started. We saw, the rally was disrupted. We had all those things. I think the problem is that people around us sometimes we are not honest. They are supposed to be helpful to us as leaders, but some of them have ill intentions, and they pretend as in a leader justice. What is there where you stop a peaceful rally? They are not violent. You start tear gassing people. There are children there. There are old people there. They have just come to listen. Why should such things be happening? Even if you are panic-stricken for whatever reason, but you have to be wise. Is this helping me, or is it destroying what I'm trying to achieve? So, democracy is intended for people to come in, choose their own leader. And if you feel you can't make it by ballot, you go by bullet. Don't do that. Life is precious. Life is very sacred. And that's why we had to put up a statement, not any particular political party. On both sides, we have to be responsible in all that we do. This is our only country. There is no any other Zambia that we have apart from this one. Therefore, we need to work together. Democracy is there to help us make decisions concerning leaders. And if we undermine the democracy itself, then we have ill motives. I want to sound a warning that this is not new. Power is an intoxicant. The Bible says, do not be sober, which presupposes that we can be intoxicated. You can be intoxicated by excessive investment in something, whatever you are doing. If you are excessively engrossed in that, you are intoxicated. And the Bible says, be sober, be vigilant. So we need to be sober as a country, because our fight even certain behaviors that are not consistent with who we are as a people. So identity, we are known very well around the world, although we ourselves are forgetting who we are. We are a loving nation. We have that testimony for 64 years. We've never known civil war, killing each other. We love our neighbor as we love ourselves. That's who we are as a country. So it's sad to hear people storm and go and kill an innocent soul, somebody productive, somebody who has brought development. You got blood. Not in this. That's not who we are. We cannot allow such kind of admission or rulership in this country. If you want, you can make the whole nation become a prison so that you become a leader of a prison yourself. Let it be so. Because if we keep throwing people in prison, you better declare Zambia a big prison and you are the chief prisoner. So let's not do that. Let's love ourselves, one another, as God has loved us. That's our message. You know, it's interesting that when you look at how Christianity, the values of Christianity have permeated the nation, you'll be surprised. Right now, look at the two political parties, the major ones, UPND, have another one where Chile is the leader. You may not realize theirs have been drawn from the scriptures, maybe unknowingly. If I may read it to you, because I want to speak to the situations, their own slogans, through their organs. I want to speak to the situations that they have chosen to be their theme. Book chapter 5 and verse 13. Hear what the Bible says and what these Christians have decided to make their theme. You are, verse 13 says, you are the earth. But if the salt possesses saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for except thrown out and trampled underfoot. Verse 14, back to back. In 14, it says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under the bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before us, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So in these two verses, we find a message for UPND. The UPND have taken verse 13. Soti sana. That's their theme. And now when you look at the theological meaning and implication of salt, the Bible talks about disciples being the salt of the earth. And if you say soti sana, you are talking about applying more salt. And if Christians are the salt of the earth, then soti sana simply means you get more Christians involved. That's the theological implication or application. When you talk about more salt, Christians are said you are the salt, and salt preserves. We are there as politicians who have invoked salt as your theme. You must be able to preserve life, preserve society, give taste. Gives taste. Medicinal. It doesn't kill. So these are the characters that we need in our political parties, not bloodthirsty people, not abductors, not thieves, not corrupt people. We need people who preserve life, because that's what you stand for. More salt means more of the goodness, more love, more neighborhoodness, more families, more friends, more hard work, and so on. So salt, sana, theologically talks about participation, penetration, Christian involvement in politics. You say, no, Christians should not involve in politics. The Bible says, you are the salt of the earth, and salt preserves, salt gives taste. Salt is medicinal. Those are the properties of salt. And we must do the same. The Bible says, go into all the world. It hasn't left out politics. It is the entire world you must preserve as salt. What is that now? Does that sound like salt? Or what does it sound like? What are we doing? And the Bible here says, if the salt loses its taste, it's good for nothing, except to be trampled upon, to be cast. It's not even good for the dunghill. When we are to perform, we are good for nothing. We are just worthy to be thrown away. I don't know. I listen to the campaigns. Everybody is saying, we have done this, we have done. That's all right. I'm not disputing anything. I'm simply saying, if you lose your saltiness, you're good for nothing. And if does not state a fact, I'm just telling you that if you have done your work will speak for you. That's what it is. You don't need to disadvantage the other person in order to be able to elevate yourself and, win the election. You don't do that. Both sides, you play your game according to what you believe. Then we see on the other side, it says, are the light. The other group has picked on the light.
The lamp.
The light. The Bible says, yes. Did you say something?
I said the lamp, which we are a lighting lamp.
Yes. Yes, that's the lamp. Yes, it's the lamp. The lamp, it's the light.
Yes.
All right? A lamp without a light, then it's nothing. It's the light which makes the lamp.
Yeah.
All right? The lamp is just the outside. So the lamp, okay, let me use the language they have used. But it is about light. The lamp scatters darkness. It actually dispels darkness. So what these people ought to be doing is to dispel darkness. Darkness can be light. Darkness can be, stealing, corruption, and all kinds of evil that are taking place bloodshed, and you talk about witchcraft and other problems that Zambians are faced with. So, and the Bible says, a town built on a hill cannot be hidden. You can't hide it. Neither people light a lamp and hide it. Cover it. No, it doesn't work like that. Instead, they put it on the stand, and it gives everyone in the house. You know, this light must be for not a particular tribe, not a particular people. It must be for everyone else. The light does not illuminate. What it does, it expels darkness. Task is to go forth and serve the people. And the Bible says, let your light shine so that they may see your good works and your Father which is in heaven. Let your light so shine before men. That's what to be doing. I think we are too selfish. We are cocooned in ourselves. We are building little kingdoms of our frail human power. Little kingdoms. That's what we are doing. No, when you want to rule Zambia, you must be big-hearted and be able to embrace everybody, regardless of where they come from, regardless of whether they are, regardless of whether they are taught, regardless of whatever it is. You are the leader. We give you the vote. Go forth and serve the people who have put you in the office. Now, some who has put us in office. You know, there are some right now. Others are saying, oh, there should be no prayers because they have mentioned the candle. There should be no. Now, listen, we have used the candle for a long time, ages and years. Before you were born, candles in the church, and we have been using it as a metaphor. As a metaphor. It's a Christian metaphor. You that have picked them up now, sort of it, you've just yesterday, and you pick it up. You claim ownership. Our concern right now is that metaphors have a tendency to distort. Even the message itself. So we are concerned as Christians that politicians using metaphors turn around and use the of you to tell us when to pray and when not. That's what dictators. When you see that, then you are targeting Christians. Let's look at how MMD, when they were in power, they were also intoxicated with power. I said power is an intoxicant. You have to be sober. You know, there was a conflict between Archbishop, the late Mpundu, and the MMD. So he was like a villain. He was stigmatized. Then, today, 2026, we have another villain. Now, why is it so? The reason is simple. If you begin to speak for the poor, it becomes, because our politicians, they come in to help the poor. They promise so many things. Alas, most of it are lies. Now, that's what I say. It doesn't deliver. Lies don't deliver. If you don't deliver, what happens? Then you fall from the people. But the church has been with the people. A church is a good ally to those who are really doing the job. It only becomes an opponent when they do what they say they are supposed to do for the people. You say, oh, you are talking, listen, we are talking about the people of God. To talk poor, it is political. You are talking about the grain, millimil. You are talking about grain. And the grain in Zambia is political. We eat politics too. So we need to deliver. When in office, let's serve the people who have put us in office. And let's not exploit them, give ourselves advantages and, no. Let's love our country. That's why we are saying we are patriots. We are people who love our country. They used to be our fathers who died and laid their lives for the sake of a country. I'm also advising, even I listened to one of the opposition, he was talking about how can kill. That's not our language. Don't talk about that. We love, we are people who give life. That's what we believe in. Even if it's you on the left, give him the other cheek. We believe in the values, not eye for an eye. That's not what we want. There is even forgiveness. There is reconciliation. There are so many things that can help us to get along with all other people as a nation. Action approaches. Let us stop targeting one another. Let us stop harassing other people. I feel sorry for the police. I feel sorry for the men in uniform. Some of them don't want to do it. They don't want. They know we are neighbors. We live next door to them. We are neighbors just because they are in union. And when sometimes they obey, they are required to obey. They are doing them. That's not their nature. They are our brothers and sisters. And all in us married. We are in Zambia. And over there, the Bembas over, that's how we are. Us to segregate ourselves. We are. Stop it. We are not going to be anything else apart from what we are. God loving.
Thank you very much. Bishop's line is cracking, but you have to bear with the network back in Zambia. We hope that we can have a fruitful conversation. I'll be bringing him very soon. We are tracking events today. I may report to you that I'm very sad that Ambassador Martha Lungu and a blogger were picked. The arrest of journalists, the arrest of bloggers, totally unnecessary. Artists, who does it benefit when you arrest the artist? Here is just some, as we are resolving the issue of network with Bishop. Vauden Findlay was picked from Ibex Hill police station and taken to an unknown place. He's been in detention since he was taken last week. And many people are asking, is Zambia under state of emergency? You don't charge them. You keep them in police stations in prolonged detention. When did they arrest Kenneth Kamba? The arrest of the artist and the 32 security teams. The arrest of everyone you've heard about. What is this? Why is there an atmosphere like we have a state of emergency, an undeclared state of emergency? It's a matter of concern. I've got, Dr. Paul Wupe with me, who's analyzing the issues, and as a Council of Elders came together, issued that very powerful statement calling for peace and calling for free and fair elections. Here is a video of Vauden Findlay, very sad picture.
Mr. Pierre, you can follow them. Yes, just wait. Those vitenge hivyo vile benchi totiza.
We are also tracking the sudden demise, of Chaminuka Luxury Lodge owner who was killed in a very brutal manner. Stelios Shula Sadanes, who's age 64, Chief Executive Officer and co-owner of the prominent Chaminuka Luxury Lodge and Game Reserve, was killed last night in the early hours of the morning. We understand about 15 individuals stormed his house, broke into his house, tied him up, tortured him, and stabbed him several times. The details, the gruesome details, have not been given. And there is a debate. Is this an assassination, or is just thieves coming to look for valuables? What is the story? The speculation arises because of the association to politics. Vauden Findlay is one of the is being accused of being a funder. And the tension keeps on building on the pile-up of tensions happening in our country. It was heartwarming to see Brian Mundubile in church today with Makebi Zulu, and we were saying, when you see me on top of those, when you see us on top of those vehicles, because they are fully exposed, an assassin can throw a bullet, but also the crowd that come around them. Brian was saying, you know, it can only be God. You know, this is what he said.
Bishop, one thing that people may not know, sometimes when we are on the top of the car, through the sunroof and campaigning, we are actually speaking in tongues, the two of us on those cars. Many people don't know that. Yeah, so some of the things that happen there when you are seeing us doing that, him and I are actually praying in tongues, thanking God for his greatness. Yeah, because we believe what has happened to us is actually divine intervention. It's not necessarily about NRPUP or about Brian Mundubile and Makebi. It's just God's work. And we take time to appreciate the Lord even as we are campaigning. I just thought I could mention this to the church.
Yes, that is an act of worship when you see them on top of those vehicles. They're not just praying for protection, but they're also recognizing that God has done something as masses crowd them. Tomorrow on Monday, we begin, as we count down 3 days before elections. 2 months ago, President Hakainde Hichilema seemed to have an unsellable lead, but statistics no longer show that he's in the lead. We'll discuss those details tomorrow. So tomorrow, that will be our discussion. This evening, Brian Mundubile took time to speak to the concerns around ECZ, the parameters that are changing suddenly. The law is very clear. The vote should be annexed, the mark. Although, as presiding officers, you are encouraged to decode what the intention of the voter is. So any mark inside the box of a candidate is accepted, but the preferred position of the law and of ECZ regulation has been the X. So where is this issue of a tick, and there are political connotation to that tick, because the UPND over the last 1 year have been promoting Kwenyu, which is a tick, and why is now ECZ talking about that? And just the integrity of the entire electoral process as we run down to Thursday next week. Brian had this to tell. We'll share the full video later, but I'll just play a snippet. And I think the network has stabilized. I'll bring in Bishop we begin to see how we can take the callers.
Their ballot papers. For many years, Zambians have understood the simple instruction that when you enter the polling station booth, You identify the candidate of your choice and place an X in the appropriate box. The Electoral Commission's own voter education material continues to tell citizens that the correct way of marking the ballot paper is by placing an X in the square corresponding to the candidate of their choice. We are therefore concerned by the introduction at this late stage of messages suggesting that voters should now use a tick or some other mark. The question is, why introduce uncertainty only days before an election? An election is not the time to experiment with voter instructions. We are therefore asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to maintain a clear, uniform and familiar message to the people of Zambia. Mark an X clearly in the box of the candidate of your choice.
Bishop, before I open the phone lines, I had to cut you rudely because the network just gave up on us. Your message.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's very clear now. The message to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. They are the umpire, they are the referee. They should be neutral, there should be no doubt, and we shouldn't even be casting aspersions against them. But sadly, the issues around ECZ have not been resolved, and they don't appear to be an independent and neutral umpire. What is your message to the ECZ? I ask you this because ECZ are the midwife to our democracy, they are a midwife to our peace and security. When elections are mishandled, as is seen across the world, it can even plunge nations into chaos, into civil instability, into civil conflict, and it, in some cases, it even brings issues of genocide. Totally unnecessary, as we've seen in places where, especially in North Africa and what happened in Rwanda. Your message to ECZ before I open the phone lines.
Zambia, Africa has gone through too much. And we wouldn't like what has happened to our beloved Zambia. Very unnecessary, because, what we do is enshrined in the Constitution. And they know that in order to change anything or to add something, it must be law. Now, how is it that you just wake up and then you start talking about any mark which is not consistent with your law? And the law clearly indicates that it must be, where are you getting all this? That's a spirit of confusion. It must be discarded. It must be, despised and rejected altogether. It's confusion, especially that there are only 4 days. When do you sensitize people? That's a tick. We shouldn't even talk about it because it's only a crime enshrined in our laws. When you see people doing things like that, a motive, and please stop it. Please, we beseech you. People are too highly sensitive. They are high on matters of that nature. So Zambians are calm people, and people when you can't handle them at all. We don't want situations like that. Let us be civilized in all that we do. We can't gamble on the peace of our country, Zambia. No, we can't do that. So I advise them to look at the law. What we should go by, not what you think. Unions are irrelevant at such as what we are doing, but to tread cautiously. Don't plunge the nation in disaster. We don't want that, and we don't what we want. Everybody has a vote, and we want to cast that vote as the language to hear, not manipulation or tactics of any kind. With that, we know there are wise people in this country. The fact that we have put you in positions doesn't mean there are no wise people in this country. Advise leaders. Let us bring people who the truth and to bring just because a relative is killing us. People who bring close to us because they support us are killing us. They don't tell us the truth. You know, that's my advice to them.
Thank you, Bishop. For those listening to us, the lines are open. Let me just ensure that the phone lines are open. Let's make those calls. Thank you. We have our first caller on the line. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
I'm calling you from England.
Thank you very much.
I'm just worried about the newly introduced way of marking the ballot papers. Isn't there a way that you can intensify education so that people know that they must stick to the marking of the X in the box on the ballot papers? Because the newly introduced mark again would end up invalidating most of the ballot papers. I know the time remaining is short, but can they still intensify using the local radios so that people can know that they must stick to the established method of marking those papers? Thank you.
Indeed, it's a matter of concern that this information actually came from ECZ, emphasizing on the tick, that the tick is allowed. Why introduce such a debate in this discussion? Why, when the law, the Constitution and the law and regulations talk about an X? Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Nebo Mtale.
Mtale, make your contribution.
Alex, first and foremost, I want to pass my word of condolences to the owner of Chaminuka, who was killed in a very, very bad way. Death is death, but hey, whoever's behind that, I pray that the country or the officers who arrest will bring those people to book. Thank you. Issues to do with I want to first of all remind the current president and the leader and those people who have been appointed at the ECZ is that there was one time people who understood 30 years ago, South Africa understood that for them to achieve the fight against apartheid, there were other people involved, such as Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and many others, part of Africa. 30 years later, that generation seems to be passing away, and the new generation in South Africa don't seem to understand and accept that indeed there was a sacrifice from other people. And this generation is saying no to other Africans who are in South Africa. We have seen what is happening in South Africa today. The leadership of HH and everyone in government today in Zambia, they should not allow Zambians to go that far. They should not push Zambians against the wall for them to react in a manner that the government should not condemn. Be good people, loving people, joyous people. When you push them too far, the reaction can be something else. Zambia today rejoices or enjoys peace and is considered to be one of the most peaceful countries in Africa, not because of man making, it's God's making. This is how Zambians are. But when you push them against the wall, they will react, and the reaction, it may be something different. and we don't want to go to that path as Zambians. Therefore, I urge the Electoral Commission of Zambia to do a right thing. But President Lungu had appointed Dr. Chulu, who I believe that they were Chulu. He was a personal friend. I think they were together at the university. But look at how he managed the Electoral Commission of Zambia. He put the friendship aside. I said, hey, we have a job, we have a duty, and this duty is to deliver in a very, very lawful manner. But what we are seeing today is that Wambuyabo, she has already organized herself a ticket, and everyone, the time that the country is on fire, they will all run away and leave this country in problems. And in the name of the land, let them do a right thing. Last one, I want to also join and encourage more servicemen, former servicemen. I saw an article from General Paul Muwoya, former ambassador to UK and the former ambassador Zambia Army, and many others, to join and condemn the act of the servicemen who are directly involved in politics, such as ZNS1. ZNS1 has catched the eyes of many, and the generals are saying we are on the verge of breaking as a nation. The moment the army, the moment the ZAF, the moment the ZNS take a side.
Mtale, the only statement I think that can be attributed to General Mihova is the one that we have here, the one that Bishop Chomba has read. I have seen the other statement you are talking about, but I can't confirm its validity. But the ones condemning violence and calling for peace, the one that is represented by Bishop here is a different statement to the one you are talking about that condemned former service chief. So I'm not aware if General Mihova did issue that statement. I'm just throwing a caution. But the statement we are aware, signed statement, is this one that has been read by Bishop Paul Bupe here.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you very much for that. But I'm urging these former general service personnel that they should join hands. They know what it means to be in a country of war.
Correct.
And to be in a country without war. With those words, I remember former Vice President Brigadier General Mianda said, it's easy to start a war, but it's very difficult to stop a war. So even when are they trying to do Mingala to a ZNS commander, even as we know that he has done too many deals, we know that the army commander currently has got charges against charges of corruption on him. So he has got more to protect of himself than doing for the country. But for the name of the land, I'm begging them that they should do a right thing. So with all those words, Ambassador, we're urging that they should not push these people, us as a country. And because we have seen it, we have done these elections before. This election is not the first election. So we know how we have employed our leaders. We know how we have fired them. But they should not allow us to fire them with pangas in our hands. There's no army that is bigger than its people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Please make your call and let's hear your contribution. We're doing a special broadcast regarding the statements of the elders, that was issued calling for peace, calling for unity. And many of you are worried that ECZ is introducing this so-called TIC very late, and it has brought suspicions and speculations. So it's very important that ECZ conducts itself very, very well. I think that's a matter our people are very concerned about. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you, Ambassador Emmanuel. This is Sinyango Danny on the line.
Thank you, Danny.
Ambassador Mwamba, yesterday, I don't know if it was Friday or yesterday, ECZ, when they made that announcement, yesterday I started thinking about it. What would have happened? What would have made them do that? But then I realized to say, you see, le Sofia bamwamba ne chalo chonse. I'm sure they received those leaked ballot boxes. And then the instruction was to put X, but because they used to say kwenu, 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 then they said, no, we can pama kwenu. So ECZ received those, and then they saw, yeah, mwebantu, tualusianya pali kwenu. So what do? They go and announce to say, no, people can put that. But it has also backfired because now, traditionally, for me, I started following Zambian elections when we had the most powerful leader in the name of KK, 1991. And people used to say, democracy state bombe mu Zambia. 1991, people turned out in massive and they went to vote. And they were putting X. Lelo, how can that change? Lesa Aisula Menso, and this is showing us what this government can do just to stay in power. But Tafia Wombe, your job, Ambassador Mwamba, is what you are doing. It's because of your platform that people get to know what these guys are doing. Lastly, in my contribution, let's continue praying. We are losing people. People are dying. The reason why every Zambian, and if you love Zambia, go and vote and do the X and protect your vote. Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. God bless Zambia. Natotela.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pia, you can follow them. Yes, just wait.
Thank you very much, Bishop. The concerns, some of them we've discussed them, regarding the decision, the led decision by ECZ to amplify the tick instead of the X. And it is taking away the integrity of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, as Brian Mundubile stated even earlier, that why introduce mixed messages this late hour? Again, the call to ECZ, and the other caller is talking about our peace as a nation, that we should never squander it. You can just give your views.
Just about the outcome. We are not just concerned about the outcome, who wins the elections, the credibility of the process. It's not just about the outcome. That's why strange things that have been introduced from way back, things that have been happening, they are pointing to something which shows that the process is not credible. And if it is not credible, the outcome will be contested. So that's not what we want. So we don't need to look at the whole process as you can know. The whole in the message itself. So you cannot just outcome. No, even what we are doing now is very important and very critical. So you cannot just wake up today and begin to change the laws. Zambians are not foolish. They are very wise people. They have been to school like yourselves. You can't just come. In 4 days, you say, okay, we are going to change the law. Who? You have no mandate. We have not given you that mandate. You come back to us, consult with us, and then we can agree. And we can say, okay, go ahead and do what you propose. Now, why are you leaving us out of the nation? So that's where the problem is. We need to be mindful that we are servants of the people, not servants of or anything else. We are servants of the people who have put us in office. Let us be accountable. My message, sickening that we can even be talking about this. Now, my advice, there is nothing like, conflict, war, whatever. We should not think about that. We are not that kind of a person. Even if you push us too far, our prayer is going to preserve our values and we're going to stay on course. It doesn't mean if we are elders, we can't you. Munshebwa, we need to tell you. We say, no, this is right. You do this. That's what it means to be an elder. An elder can miss with a stone, but cannot miss with a word. The word comes to pass because it has been weighed, it has been evaluated, and it is informed by experience. And when you speak, you are speaking. So that's to those of us who are receiving counsel, we must apply ourselves to it and then put it into practice. Then we shall have peace. So there are strange things. We can't allow that. We are not afraid. We are not afraid.
And Bishop,
so help us.
I'll put you against the war. The clergy is supposed to preach peace, preach unity, bring us together. You have one of our most senior members in the clergy who's in the partisan politics. He ventured out from the pulpit, to the stage, to the political stage, taking the belief that men of God must participate in politics to clean up the politics. But it seems he has made it dirty. Now, the only reason I'm bringing him here are his remarks that he made in Chinsali. Dr. Nevas Mumba is a senior member of the clergy. And in his statement in Chinsali, he's disparaging the other political leaders, he's calling them names, and he's even preaching tribalism by alleging that those not voting for Ichilema just hated the other tribe. And now let me play a bit of it, then I come back to you for you to give counsel to members of the clergy, especially ambassadors that have gone in politics. I think there should be good ambassadors, and not even justify why men of the caller should not be in politics. Let me just play this brief video, then I get your views.
Why chebesu balya nali mutema mundubire tumaye makebi nali batema no mukubapele cyano Chonse uyo mufulo nisiba mwali kwata mufulo mwaweva natuchipele kuri mundubire chona ikecyalo ngaba amano yako kiteka baka yafunye kuri ndaya nyamaka yakuyiteke cyakuteka baka yafunye kuri luliyoluse lwakuteka abantu bakafunye kuri kali akatima kakwalesa akakuchindika abantu bakafunye kuri tatuwa patile mube ba epo muri ba PF apa na baena RP epo muri imo muri bantu besu twose turi kimo nomba twiwana mufulo yona nali bapata abatonga kanshi na vote ave mundubile unevotera umwafya.
So those remarks were extremely unfortunate. Like I was saying, there are many people, especially among the Pentecostal and evangelical movement, that justify that, yes, we can have men of God, pastors who can join politics with the belief that they'll clean up. But instead, look at those remarks. I don't know what your views are, Bishop.
Enough, Mumba has been a good friend for a long time. And usually when he makes some state call him outside the platform, public platform, and tell him, I say this, you better know that if he doesn't act on it, it's not my problem. I've told him what people are saying on the ground. Even on this one, I can say, I think we went down and look at what informs as we deal with the politics. For example, what he's talking about people, that's what we've been taught, that wisdom comes. So wisdom is not an exclusive privilege of the old people, gray-haired. No, it can come from a young person. Wisdom comes from God the Father Almighty, and He dispenses it indiscriminately. So when we stand in politics as servants of God, we are required to be distinctive. We have to be distinct. So no matter where you put it, whether you put it in chicken, it doesn't be chicken. It remains salt. That's what is expected of the Lord. When they go behind this, they should rise for whatever reason. Sometimes money has power. You can compromise your status or your identity. But the Bible says you are the salt, because you expected to remain this even in political atmosphere. Be a servant of the Lord even there. No, it is challenging. So it is unfortunate that sometimes we make statements that cannot be with facts, because then that have come on the platform. No school for presidents. There's no school for vice presidents. All of them are new. They have never been presidents. Maybe somewhere, but not all have attended that school. It is ordinary people who exhibit certain character.
No development that doesn't come from land and natural resources. And land and natural resources are ours. Why should we be poor? This fumusizwera famu waruna. This fumusizwera famu saluna. Zorunya tela kistamani. Mwani ketsoka ufela. Mwendi munani womulata ulu. Ombata kuketa. Konoti abayo fa ballot paper. Hakuna kolo ya kubaketa. In an election, your only choice are those people who are on the ballot paper. This year, 2026, on 13th August 2026, on the ballot paper, if we are realistic, there is only one bad man and one good man. Coordinator na wanu kuhera kuliaeza zete fosalile weza munya kitwalo nani mikulera kuliaeza twalo unanilunya yaeza ze twalo unanilunya Baba Yen for ballot paper this year. Gana natoka kumikupakuli mumulunjile. Natoka kumikupakuli, don't vote for him. Do I need to tell you who not to vote for?
The network, Bishop, has become increasingly poor, and it has nothing to do with you. We've held broadcasts before, and we've had very good under the circumstances, but it's generally in the country, and there are political speculations around why the network is poor. Is the bandwidth being reduced? And you know, that we've been hearing you properly, but there are times when we can barely hear you. Please give me your last remarks about the statement that you issued, and we can wrap it up.
We must ourselves knowing who we are people. We are loving people. I can't expect it worldwide for who we are. Therefore, we cannot allow anybody, regardless of who it is, to come and change who we are as a people. And all Zambians, let's love one another. Motivating factor should be love, not fear, feelings of intimidation. We should not be motivated by fear of any kind. You know, when people become suspicious of everybody else, that is a problem. You know, when you start becoming suspicious of everybody, that's a problem. What is happening right now? People are scared of what? Scared of what? We need to have motivators. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And there is no other message I can give apart from loving each other as Zambians. Do not even imagine Zambia going at war. There is nothing like that. We are a peaceful, loving people. God bless Zambia. Bless our leaders. Bless the fourth class. Go forth and serve. Choose the one you want to choose without hesitation. Bless you.
Thank you so much. And thank you once again for sparing your time this late hour, Bishop. And thank you to you, your flock, and your family. God bless you too. And thank you for your sacrifices and dedication to our country. Thank you.
Bishop, one thing that people may not know, sometimes when we are on the top of the car, through the sunroof and campaigning, we are actually speaking in tongues, the two of us on those cars. Many people don't know that. Yeah, so some of the things that happen there when you are seeing us doing that, him and I are actually praying in tongues, thanking God for his greatness. Yeah, because we believe what has happened to us is actually divine intervention. It's not necessarily about NRPUP or about Brian Munduvile and Makebi. It's just God's work. And we take time to appreciate the Lord even as we are campaigning. I just thought I could mention this to the church.
To address the people of Barotland and generally the people of Zambia regarding the political occurrences that took place here in this region, in Barotland. The Barotse Royal Establishment, BRE, is flabbergasted by political violence that occurred in Barotland during the last few days in Luampa, Mongu, and Kalabo. The BRE notes with deep concern when political players and activity meant to engage the citizen and the public peacefully degenerates into confrontation, disruption, and tension among community members. This is unacceptable. Such incidents should not be allowed. They go against the long-established tradition of peace, tolerance, and respect that Barotseland is known for. The position of the Barotse Royal Establishment: 1. Condemnation of violence. The Barotse Royal Establishment condemns in the strongest terms all acts of political violence, provocation, and intimidation. 2. Respect for custom and laws. All political parties and their supporters are urged to respect Barotse custom, public order, and the laws of Zambia when conducting activities in the province. Number 3, call for security and peace. We call up
their ballot papers. For many years, Zambians have understood the simple instruction that when you enter the polling station booth, you identify the candidate of your choice and place an X in the appropriate box. The Electoral Commission's own voter education material continues to tell citizens that the correct way of marking the ballot paper is by placing an X in the square corresponding to the candidate of their choice. We are therefore concerned by the introduction at this late stage of messages suggesting that voters should now use a tick or some other mark. The question is, why introduce uncertainty only days before an election? An election is not the time to experiment with voter instructions. We are therefore asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to maintain a clear, uniform, and familiar message to the people of Zambia. Mark an X clearly in the box of the candidate of your choice. Countrymen and women, you may wish to know that even the regulations that govern the voting process, and in particular Regulation 33D, underscores what to amount to a valid voting mark, and this mark is an X. We are therefore very surprised that ECZ is coming up with other marks that may not be necessarily provided for under the regulations. In clear terms, it prescribes that voting shall be done via crossing. This is the valid mark. Anything departing from this, as per statute, is practice, and practice is an invalid or a spoiled vote. That is the law. That is what the statute provides. So like I said earlier, the last minute changes, as announced by ECZ Chief Electoral Officer, points to arbitrariness in the administration of elections. So neither the Electoral Commission of Zambia Act nor the Electoral General Regulations of 2016 contemplate any sort of administrative arbitrariness. So no voter should arrive at the polling station wondering whether they should use a tick, an X, a line, or some other symbol. The rules of voting must be simple, consistent, and understood by every Zambian. For the first time, voter in Lusaka, to the grandmother casting her vote in the most remote village.